Welcome back to 11 Alive Midday, where we continue our coverage of the passing of 39th President Jimmy Carter. He died Sunday at 100 years old, the longest living U.S. president. He was surrounded by his family in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, the town where he was born on October 1st, 1924. 11 Alive Zach Merchant is there in President Carter's hometown. Zach, you've been there for at least overnight. You really talked about the difference now that people are up and moving about the town, just sort of the mood there.
We should start with this. We spent almost the entire year covering what was candidly a really contentious presidential election, and that campaign ran right through our home state. But today, as the sun comes up, we start to talk with people. Part of the things we're talking about is politics. And what we're seeing is something we have not seen much of in the last year. We're seeing people smile as they talk about politics, or at least when they talk about Plains' favorite hometown politician, President Jimmy Carter. And it's something we saw a little bit of on the campaign trail this year and in recent years as well. It wasn't by any means universal, but as President Carter got older in particular, we saw a lot of people with a lot of different political backgrounds come to a sort of general understanding, a consensus of respect for the work that he did, particularly after he left the Oval Office, his relentless dedication to his humanitarian work around the world. And it is that sense of dedication that's drawn a lot of people to Plains this morning. We talked to 3 people who told us they had no plans to be here today, but after hearing the news of President Carter's death, they rerouted their cross-country road trips to pay their respects to the 39th president, to walk the streets of this small town he called home for a century, and to share their own messages to the family he and his wife Rosalynn raised here.
Continue the legacy if possible. You know, continue that the Carter Foundation was formed in both of their names, and they put that together, and hopefully that will continue on for many decades to come.
And continue the love.
And so, Zach, you've been in Plains again since last night. This town really just has such a beautiful story outside of Mr. Carter. It really speaks to the man that he was beyond being a president. What is it like there?
This is a town, it is a small town. It was a small town 100 years ago when President Carter was born here. It's a small town still today, but it is one because of President Carter that has grown somewhat, restfully sometimes, somewhat restlessly sometimes, used to the gaze of history. And you talk to people who live in Plains, you talk to people who are just visiting, and you get a sense that they are feeling that the eyes of history are on this small town in the south of Georgia once again. We're live in Plains. Zach Merchant, 11 Alive News.
Zach, thank you. And our Liza Lucas is standing by live for us at the Carter Center in Atlanta, where some members of the community have come to stop by to pay their respects and to remember the former president. The center itself is just really a symbol there, Liza, of his legacy that will live on.
It truly is. When we talk about the mission here at the Carter Center, it is one focused on building lasting peace. It is a mission, that humanitarian work that President Carter was so well known for and continues to resonate, and people continue to talk about as they reflect on his life's work and his legacy. Now, while here at the Carter Center, 11 Alive has had a chance to speak with Craig Withers, VP of Overseas Operation, about the former president's impact. Judge a person by what they do, Withers told us, adding Carter did a lot, whether working as a farmer, leading the country from the White House, or building houses with his own hands. Withers also says through it all, Carter also held on to his humility.
He was a humble individual. He did not seek attention. He drew attention because of the work he did, how he did it, and what he accomplished, despite great odds. And I think people can recognize that when someone has faced great challenges and has overcome them, they deserve your respect, and it can be inspiring.
And Withers hopes that younger generations will indeed be inspired, particularly as we all reflect on the former president's legacy. Now, we should note that the Carter Center and the Presidential Library are currently closed to the public. However, people have been and are able to walk up here to the memorial behind me. They've been taking brief pictures, placing flowers, and that opportunities for public participation as they become known, we will certainly post them as well on 11alive.com as our own coverage continues. Live at the Carter Center, Liza Lucas, 11 Alive News.
Liza, thank you. Some of the details that we can confirm right now: Jimmy Carter will be buried next to his wife in Plains, Georgia, on the same property where he took his final breath Sunday. Rosalynn was the love of his life for 77 years and his closest confidant and political advisor, from the Georgia governor's office all the way to the White House. Many notable accomplishments, including what's called the greatest diplomatic achievement in U.S. history. Carter mediated peace between Israel and Egypt, two longtime enemies. But it's from the Carter Center in Atlanta where he launched some of his most significant achievements: waging peace, fighting diseases, and building hope. This midday hour show, Preheim has a look back on the incredible imprint he leaves on the world.
A global icon, a champion for justice, a dedicated public servant who never forgot his roots.
You know, I've had a wonderful life. I've had thousands of friends, and I've had an exciting and adventurous and gratifying existence.
James Earl Carter Jr. was born in Plains, Georgia in 1924. When he graduated from Plains High School, Carter went to a community college before joining the U.S. Naval Academy. And 2 years later, he received a wartime appointment serving on Navy submarines around the world. But Carter's heart was in his home state, and his love was in his hometown. In 1946, he married Rosalynn Smith, a young woman who grew up just a few doors down from the Carter family.
The best thing that ever happened to me was marrying Rosalynn.
After serving in the Navy, Carter went back to Georgia and entered the world of politics. First, a victory in the state Senate, then a U.S. congressional race. He lost his first campaign for governor, but not the second time.
I promise you my best. I ask of you your best.
In 1970, Carter was elected Georgia governor, and the next 4 years gave him a reputation as a new kind of Southern politician, a reputation that helped propel him into the Oval Office.
I told you I didn't intend to lose.
1976, President-elect Jimmy Carter.
We must act now, together, to devise and to implement a comprehensive national energy plan.
He created the Department of Energy, and in 1979, engineered the Camp David Accords, bringing peace to the Middle East.
The 1980s have been born in turmoil.
Later that year, though, the most profound crisis of Carter's presidency, when Iranian militants stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American hostages. It ended hours after newly elected President Ronald Reagan took the oath of office. After leaving office, Carter's dedication to public service and public good continued.
How many of his staff?
The Carter Center has worked with 38 countries to monitor and ensure fairness in nearly 100 democratic elections. He's helped to eradicate disease.
Well, it's a very gratifying and heartbreaking, but also heartwarming experience.
And well into his 90s, humbly helped build homes for those in need with Habitat for Humanity.
I think I have been as blessed as any human being in the world.
The office of President of the United States.
Become the President of the United States of America and Governor of Georgia, and work at the Carter Center, and a big and growing family, and thousands of friends. So I've had everything's been a blessing for me.
Our coverage of the life and legacy of former President Jimmy Carter continues right now on 11 Alive Plus. You can find it on the homepage of our streaming app, along with long-form interviews to just really hear the conversations about friendship and time of service from President Biden and Ambassador Andrew Young.